When emergency first responders were overwhelmed by Los Angeles County's most destructive fire yet, a band of surfers, along with their neighbors and friends, stepped up to defend their home turf in Malibu. Their devotion to home drove them to show up for their community during the fire and for years afterward. And now, a model they call the Community Brigade program could change everything, leading to more lives and more homes saved during the increasing wildfires across not just California, but the world. Join reporter Adriana Cargill from KCRW, NPR's All Things Considered, Crooked Media, and more, as she investigates a wildfire story that is not depressing, but is in fact a clear hope for the future. Listen now to Sandcastles, an award-winning podcast about home, how we create it, and why we fight so hard for it. Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone is safe and sound and feeling pretty good out there. Today brings another of our Do Better, Better essays. This is number 8. And a reminder, these are crafted to help you think more clearly about the future today. These essays fill out our podcast feed alongside the audio version of our weekly newsletter, which is read by Brian on Fridays. And of course, our groundbreaking conversations with amazing interdisciplinary humans all working on the front lines of the future. And we are so grateful to have you as part of our community, working alongside those folks on all of the world's biggest problems and opportunities. 2 quick reminders. You can get all of these things, including our newsletter, right in your inbox at importantnotimportant.com. You can also send us feedback at questions@importantnotimportant.com. Go ahead, record a voice memo. Tell us who you are, where you're from. Do it right on your phone, and you can send that in too. And we will put them together and use them in a future episode. Here's Do Better, Better, number 8. One choice has determined the last 400 years. Originally published October 11th, 2020. The choices we make often involve fairly simple math. For example, when there's a pandemic and you choose to repeatedly go maskless among thousands of people, you have a very good chance of catching the virus, even if you are the president of the United States. I am an upper middle class cis white man born into enormous privilege, which is not a choice I made, but it is a situation from which I've benefited enormously. People who look like me chose to pursue power at all costs, and so designed a comprehensive system of racism and exploitation that has held up for 400 years, and which continues to touch every part of Black, Brown, Latino, Asian, and Indigenous lives. People who look like me chose to use up Earth's ecosystems to build and benefit their industries, and to make convenience the default option for everyday white life. From free BIPOC labor to land use to fossil fuels and antibiotics. These choices add up to not only an atmosphere bursting with greenhouse gases, but also a white supremacist president who endorses white supremacy on live TV. A president who is actively trying to steal the election for himself, for white men, and for industry, with every tool at his disposal. And these things are connected because those people intended and perfected them to be so. COVID, the climate crisis, Trump. These are the sum of the choices our ancestors have made. Again, as Ed Yong said, the cracks in our society were already there. COVID and Trump are just capitalizing on them. 500,000 dead Americans is the result of decades of ignoring science. Not just almost a year of Trump doing the same. 48 months of Trump exploiting presidential powers is the result of 40 plus years of conservatives exploiting every opportunity to consolidate power until the day they could finally capitalize on their efforts. And that day is today. And the rest of us have a choice to make. How far will we go? The past will soon cease to predict the future more than ever, but we can still learn from it. We once allowed Nazis to party at Madison Square Garden, but then hastily built 300,000 planes and 10,000 ships and used them to land 150,000 troops and 50,000 vehicles on a beach in Normandy. In this case, our foe is internal. And radical means choosing not only to encourage and take part in things like record voter turnout, but putting our bodies in the streets when the president almost inevitably calls that turnout illegitimate. Radical means not just ending the oppression and persecution of Black people in 2020, but making reparations for the centuries of compound interest put upon them and taken from them. Radical means building not only clean energy, but massive work campaigns to fast-track cleaning the air, the water, and the food of Black and Brown and Latino and Indigenous Americans. Radical means not just winning this election in a landslide, up and down the ballot, but immediately overhauling how our democracy works. From statehood, to voting registration, to filibusters, to redistricting, to publicly funded campaigns, to age and term limits for elected officials and judges everywhere. Because the next iteration of Trump will be younger and significantly more focused, the culmination of so much work. Radical for the next month means accepting that almost half the country's population is dependent on this America and thus lost to us. It means focusing exclusively on those who still might respond to what could be. The version of our country that we're fighting for has never existed before. America isn't broken. It was designed to work the way it does, by white men who only ever wanted white landowners to vote, whose descendants gave centuries of effort towards a single goal: the profitable preservation of white supremacy. They have pulled every lever of power to steal this election. And now, with everything they've built on the line, they've made a final choice. They've decided that, should they fall, they will take the rest of us down with them. To ignore their willingness to do so is to remain ignorant in the face of a long history of deliberate choices. They might have built America on a different set of beliefs than the rest of us hold, but philosophy in action has costs. Our passports don't work. Our children don't have clean water. The air is unbreathable wherever we go. The seas are rising. The situation is lucid, even to them. The receipts are in. Despite this, America as they built it teeters on the precipice. Complete success on one side and catastrophic failure on the other. It has never been so powerful and yet so vulnerable. You and I can end it to make something new. What will you choose? Okay, everybody, Last thing before I get you out of here, if you're listening to this wherever you are, there's a way to rate it or review it on Apple Podcasts. You can do that with a rating and review. On Overcast, you just tap the star. It takes just a second, and it means so much to us. We would love if you joined our community. If you're new here, you can just subscribe to these episodes right wherever you listen to podcasts. And just a reminder, if you go to importantnotimportant.com, you can find plenty of other awesome tools to fight for a better future for everyone and work on these ridiculously hard problems. Thank you so much for listening, and talk to you soon.